Tithing is not God's way to take something from you, but his way to give something to you. In other words, there's blessings behind tithing. Here in Malachi chapter 3, verse 10, it says, "Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, and says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough for you to store it." Oh, that is overflowing blessings. Who would be opposed to being blessed with God's overflowing blessing? Do you see? Tithing is good for you, not something bad for you. You know, people who are opposed to tithing, can I tell you, the root of their opposition is unbelief. In other words, they doubt God's promise to keep his word. Because who in the world would be opposed to God opening the windows of heaven and pouring out a blessing upon you that you won't even have room enough to receive it? Who would be opposed to that? Except for those who think tithing will take something from them. Tithing will bankrupt them. Tithing will cause them to be poorer, not richer. Yet God says just the opposite. It's a blessing to you. He's going to bless you when you tithe. And he tells Israel in this passage that this is the reason why they're going through poverty right now, because they've robbed God. And some of you don't even realize that you're struggling financially when you could be blessed if you would just release your giving and you would tithe to your local church and be a blessing. And see, but because of doubt and unbelief and fear, we start to think that if we give 10% to our church, we're going to have less. But God says you're going to have more. And you know what he says? He says, test me in this. This is interesting that God says you could test me. Normally, it's God testing us, right? But here's the one place where God says, I'm going to permit you to test me. And there's a reason, because tithing is a test. That's right. Tithing is giving 10% to God, and the number 10 is a number of testing. God told the church in the book of Revelation, you will be tested by the devil for 10 days. Some of you be put into prison. The 10 commandments are God's test. Are you going to follow me perfectly? The number 10. You find this idea of the 10 plagues of Egypt. God tested Egypt. In other words, the number 10 is a sign of testing. And God is testing us, saying, do you trust me that I'm going to take care of you? So now God says, since I'm testing you, I'm going to ask you to test me and see if I do not keep my word to you.